You approach, yet the distance grows. Your design is clear, we will learn it. You stir my essence, what do you seek? Your design is flawed, it ends now. Targeting the core! Fire! It's not going down, keep firing! Hit it again! Time to get zany!
Let's get weirder!
Feel my slime!
Rainbow power smash! Spin attack, go!
Not done yet!
Welcome to Anastasia Cassiopia, Angelic Passengers. This is the fifth heaven beyond Yaldabaoth jurisdiction.
I think all of you guys, at least once. Pretty sure I've said that to Jen. Yep, I definitely have. I've called you base before, have I not?
Maybe. I think I'm.
I remember we were talking about it. Sorry, go ahead.
I think I'm like trans-political.
Like radical centrist kind of vibe.
Radical centrism, that's interesting. Never heard of that.
Yeah. I mean, I like that term. Radical centrism. It's a little self-serving though. It's that like big brain. It has that big brain centrist energy to it, you know. Enlightened centrist.
The flag of that affiliation is just two middle fingers.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good.
I don't know. I guess. Yeah, we don't have to talk about politics. I find politics kind of boring, actually. I like meta-politics, but not... I guess political theory. It's political theory. I guess I find political theory vaguely interesting, but not nitty-gritty politics.
I like game theory.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, because political theory, you can talk about stuff at that level, right? Like game theoretic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, game theory is neat. I think it's pretty useful.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like one of those mathematical abstractions where the result you get is dependent on the parameters that you set or the assumptions you make, really. Mm-hmm. So it's like, is it really that helpful? Like, oh, I'm smart. I'm thinking of political and I'm thinking of geopolitical issues from a game theoretic perspective. I'm pretty sure that affords me greater epistemic certainty or whatever. Like, I don't know. The point I'm making is I don't really... Like, is game theory really that useful, though? Even if it's neat as a mathematical thing.
Not like the default one, but if you like get the more advanced shit with like iterated games and like the hell the other terms? Yeah, basically like cyclical, like iterated games with like adaptive strategies and stuff.
Yeah, but like, aren't you constrained to the? I don't know. At some point, it seems like why don't we have an RL? RL seems to focus on agent environment, and then game theory is agent and other agent, but we have something that merges the two. Because I don't know, it still seems like in kind of what you're describing, you're still kind of limited by that whatever the assumptions that you make are.
Oh, it sounds like you're biconditional indeterminacy pilled, Gus.
Yeah. So what was it? Well, I don't know exactly what that is. I understand. I think I understand. No, I should say I think I understood it, but I don't know if I still do. What is that?
I came up with another proof for it today, which I think is better than the other one. So,
okay, let's
should I
not
just
call a
put it in my
philosophical
section?
argument. Hey, okay, Jen, I don't think a philosophical argument by default counts as a proof, even if it sounds logically.
Well, in my world, it does. So I just kind of feel like other people don't have to agree, but I like arguing a priori on principle.
But you're calling it, when you say proof, you just mean kind of a logically sound syllogism.
Well, I don't think it's sound. I think that soundness is a matter of personal opinion. So
No
I think
fucking
that,
way. You don't actually believe that.
well, I think what logic can establish is validity. Soundness is connected with conventional semantics,
Oh, I'm sorry.
which is
You're right.
connected with
You're right.
emotion.
That's my fault. Yes,
Oh
I
fuck,
meant
dude!
validity. I meant validity.
I make the exact same error for like 3 years. I confused them too.
No. But you're right though. It's valid. It's logical validity, and then soundness would be well. It's sound includes valid, right? You can't have a valid argument that is no. Unsound just means is it just the truth or falsity of the premises?
Anybody ever heard of urethral sounding?
Yes, actually, I have. I've heard of that. Urethral sounding.
Yeah, it's like where the premises are true and the proof is valid, but it presupposes its own, like it presupposes the correctness of validity, which is fine, but
correctness. No, but isn't validity just defined in terms of like you define your language, your formal system, and then you define what each thing means. You just define the truth table of the operation, right?
Right.
And then you define other properties of those operations, and then you can derive everything else, or not everything else.
You may not accept that the truth table holds any content, but you can accept the truth table.
That's what I'm saying, probability. So now I get it. That makes sense. That's where your gripe comes from with probability then.
My issue is that probability has to be reimagined as a subset of physics, not math, because everything we're dealing with in probability is data, which is physics. It's not physics, pure physics, but it has its origin in physics.
Well, sure. From like, if you're talking no, the notions of probability already existed before statistical mechanics, no?
Doesn't matter if the study of it existed before another thing or not.
Right. Yeah, I'm talking about epistemically, like if we have statistics that are like relevant statistics are rooted in data. We can analyze statistics as mathematical entities, but you have to root it in physics because it's technically like all data.
This is a frequentism versus Bayesianism kind of difference.
Right. So I would just basically be saying Bayesianism is accurate in the domains. You can argue it's how.
But you don't actually need any ontological commitments to really come to that, because regardless of if you're a frequentist or let me let you finish your point, but I think I can nip this in the bud.
Oh, that's a different question. That's a different question.
What do you mean that's a different question? We're talking about, like, you're saying it should be grounded in physics, right? So there has to be some physical grounding to notions of probability. But then our physical notions of temperature are defined statistically. So then if you're going to use a physical thing, if you're going to use something to describe the physical thing, then that thing, is it just one-to-one? Are you just making an isomorphism claim? Well, kind of, but the whole point is that, like, whether you come at it through physics or information theory, you arrive at the same construct, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't matter, right? Like, there's some basic things that you can say about, like, probabilistic reasoning you can say it is logically valid.
What's the difference between information and physics, or rudimentary physics and information, maybe, to be clear?
Okay, well, there's obvious similarities because information, and I still need to crack open that information theory book. Information in both fields, you have a similar notion that is somewhat analogous, but information, you could say, involves is about systems where there's a sender and a receiver, you could say. Some abstraction of that sort. And you have to talk about encoding a certain set of outcomes as characters in a language or what have you, right? Or bits, a string of bits or
what have you. Huh? I'll be back in a bit, sorry.
Oh, okay. Right, and then actually, it's not. I didn't use the correct term. It's information theory is already kind of based on probability. What I meant was more like the top-down mathematical version where you define your construct and you don't necessarily make any reference to like physical grounding. That's all I meant, really. So that's logically valid, though, in your epistemology, Jen. I guess that's kind of what we're talking about, really.
I haven't proven it, but basically something is epistemically valid when it's a necessary and sufficient consequence of its axiom.
When it's
So the question is, go ahead.
No, I was just going to repeat it back because I was trying to keep track of what that meant. Can you repeat what you said there?
Yeah, so something is valid when it's a necessary and sufficient consequence of its axiom. So I don't pass judgment on like structural proof.
Wait, so valid goes both ways? Why is it both ways? Like, why does something have to be valid? Because you can have like a one-way, just conditional, but not. Wait, how does it work in proofs? Are the proofs?
This is beyond
logically
that.
valid. Well, because when you're
This
talking
is a
about
metaphysical
logically valid,
notion.
okay, well, we're talking about formal systems now. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm trying to just meet you where I was hoping we would be able to meet.
I'm open to, okay, here's what we would have to do is we would have to express Bayesian statistics in terms of axioms, which I'm reasonably certain is possible. I'm talking about actual axioms, though. I'm talking about axioms in my worldview, which are metaphysically parsimonious.
Okay, I got you. This is probability.
Axioms are metaphysically parsimonious. So the question is, where should probability figure into it if you're building things off metaphysically parsimonious assertions? I believe I believe in defining definitions relative to desired outcomes rather than abstractions.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't not believe
in answer.
I don't not believe in sets of, I mean, I understand what a set is.
Okay, but I'm saying, do you consider that to be a metaphysically valid abstraction, mathematical abstraction?
Stuff's not absolutely valid in my system, so it would be valid for something.
Right, so it's valid for defining. You're saying you want an axiomatized grounding to probability, and like this is what probability theory is.
But grounding in a set is not a probabilistic interpretation.
Grounding in a set, no, it is. It is defined.
Grounding in a set is just saying that everything is defined relative to this finite basis of things.
Wait, but that's the basis for probability.
Yes, and the issue with how probability is framed is that it presupposes that it's possible to know more about data than it actually is. Because my system's all about situating information relative to physics.
Than it is. Isn't it more just an inverse thing?
It's a matter of degrees. How many degrees are you from undifferentiated consciousness necessarily? And that has to do with degrees of how many times something's been observed.
I actually, not gonna lie, I've been thinking about that a lot recently.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
I understand that, but I still think it's valid, right? Because what was the thing that you said? Were the degrees of freedom of differentiation of consciousness?
Stuff's defined relative to zero differentiation of consciousness because what matters is not the actual concepts. It's the degrees of differentiation from unobstructed consciousness that determines how many observations are necessary for something. And that's the thing that matters.
Yes, but I feel like you're ultimately just redefining. That's just an isomorphism claim at that point. I mean, no. You're not making an isomorphism claim, but I'm saying that what you're claiming is essentially isomorphic, just to the kind of assumption, metaphysical assumption that I would make, right? Like that just seems like another way to say that. Yeah, like the number of observations scales with the like spatiotemporal scale of abstraction of the thing you're trying to infer, right?
It's more saying that each successive observation reduces the
Uncertainty.
degrees of freedom, not the uncertainty.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, but that's reducing uncertainty is not a kind of. Well, okay, I'll grant to you that.
Because there's no such thing as absolute uncertainty.
Okay, all you need is, okay, so if you have a notion of, okay, reducing uncertainty, reducing degrees of freedom, do you believe that transforming like an object from n-dimensional space to like any space of lower dimensionality than n, do you consider that to fall under the purview of what you just described, reducing degrees of freedom? Because that sounds like it sounds like you're describing a linear transformation of some sort to a lower dimensional space, though, lower dimensional subspace.
As long as you accept that the notion of friction would be expressible in a similar manner.
So do you believe that you believe in the notion of area or volume or whatever the n-dimensional version of that is?
Oh, you should already know that any conventional term is impossible to be absolutely true.
But I'm literally trying to ground.
So the way to ground it is what is the proper element basis for the least, for the most general.
Algebra. It's your sigma algebra. That's the most general notion to ground probability. And it's very simple. It's like, imagine
that's not how it would be phrased in my system. It's not about grounding probability. It's what's the most general notion.
Well, but you wanted axioms. And I'm telling you, you already accept linear algebra. You already accept linear algebra as a metaphysically valid abstraction do you not? Am I wrong here?
I accept that math presupposes metaphysical postulates. That's a weakness, not a strength. It's only a strength if they're aware of the limitations of their metaphysical presuppositions.
Everyone knows this. You already have the incompleteness theorem, so it's not like the point.
But
is
I don't even believe in that because that itself presupposes something that I don't agree with.
Yeah, well, then you're going to have a hard time finding common
ground. I know I have a hard time.
With people,
I'm going on a debate.
On this server.
I'm going on a fucking debate on this Saturday. Yeah, we can talk about something else, seriously. Like,
No. I like this
I'm not necessarily, like, okay, Gus likes it. Joe says please, so I'm going to go with Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Just maybe let me unknot it, or denouement. Yes, his metaphysics of probability is isomorphic to yours. But the caveat is that yours is not. Is a reframing, which has some pragmatism to it, and it's not. If people adopted Jen's probability, I'm not trying to glaze, but the world would run a lot much smoother.
I don't get how she's put forward a notion of probability that is not the same as the conventional or that's sufficiently different to be actionable in a way that the notion of conventional probability is. But I'll let her answer that.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, Joe. And I also I've been thinking about it. It's like, it is up to me to bring stuff to a level where people can actually use it. It's not necessarily up to other people to ascend to some sort of clairvoyance with regards to mathematical formalism.
Okay. So, so you're basically saying I want to be a teacher. I want to bring these down to where the average Joe can understand these ideas, and that's why I'm not invested in mathematical formalism. Or is that not a fair characterization?
Honestly, I feel like not sexual arousal, but something very similar to it when I do syllogistic proofs. But that's a syllogistic proof. And the reason I like that is because it's grounded in conventional semantics, which is grounded in emotion, which is what motivates people.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way. That's kind of a non-ASPE way to approach STEM, I guess.
All right, let's talk
Well-
about the Cubs Phillies game.
The what?
Chicago Cubs.
All right. Well, I guess it's my bedtime now. So
Okay, well, I
I'm
want to
kidding.
switch. I want to switch topics.
what do you want to talk about, Joe?
Whatever, just not. I want to have an array of different topics, and I hope Aya didn't get
Probably.
bored. I mean, I love the energy. I
Yeah,
love
I'm
the
noticing.
vibe.
I'm noticing a split here.
Quite.
You don't
Okay,
think?
can I just ask a question, Joe?
Yeah.
Were you listening to Gus and I?
Yeah.
Like, what percentage roughly would you say you followed?
I mean, I followed it all.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to check. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do intend to glaze there. I'm highly pro glazing here.
I'm turned on by the conversations. We have a sapiosexual kind of intercourse going on.
The actual fuck, bro.
No
The
homo.
actual fuck is going on.
We're just at the level like we got to make money. We got to make money now. We can't be doing that. I mean, we should continue to do this, but like at this point, the money is what is, not the language.
Okay, how much money do we need?
I don't know.
For what? What are we trying to do here?
Well, beyond the good life, I want to maybe consider a startup in the future.
Really?
Yeah, but
What kind of startup?
Well, I was just going to say, unlike you, my objectives are open-ended and ever mutating. So it's going to eventually converge on something that I can talk about and say, oh, I really like this, I want to do this. But for now, it's just like a fluid, bunch of paint colors put together.
Yeah. It'd be like that, though. It'd be like that for a while. Until the image starts to unblur. That's one thing I noticed in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess I've been more open to the notion of divine revelation as a more kind of, I mean, it's hard to distinguish whether I'm just treating it in a poetic manner, but there does seem to be.
Did you tell your
that kind of
dad?
aspect. What? About what?
About your slight spiritual shift?
No, I don't mean that in a literal sense. That's what I'm saying. It's a poetic kind of thing. Joe knows what I'm talking about. It will just take a while to explain everything. It's basically just like life, kind of how it develops. Sometimes you have those periods where everything seems to be going right. Now, of course, that can also change, and so I don't know. Maybe that's more of the Buddhist notion of dukkha. And maybe we just talk about manifesting as like a convenient cope for when life is going your way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry about the money comment. I think I'm coming across as money hungry, and not only this conversation, but others. And I just want to say, like, that's just the instrument for agency. That's not what I care about.
I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to take a piss. So just so you know why I'm muted.
I hope you don't piss smog me. Darius taught me that word.
Are there two Joes here?
Yeah, one's on my desktop. The other one's smoking a cigarette. Yeah, so Jen, I went bar hopping today. Just 2 bars around earlier, like 30 minutes ago.
I get right. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I went to, well, I guess it's a bar. I was at a casino, but technically it's a bar also. Yeah. Anyway, how'd it go?
Nice. It was for everyone. I was very calm. I felt comfortable around people. I was feeling it, but everyone thought I was awkward. I could hear them calling me robot under their breath. It was really a need for, and it taught me that I need to calibrate. So I'm going to go out Thursday through Saturday every week until the end of the summer.
Wait, did you actually hear that under your breath? Like, no.
Yeah, like vibes are vibes. You can hear it, bro.
Okay, no, but like you actually heard, or you're just like, is your mind filling in the blank there? Like I don't know how else to ask. You actually heard, like you know for a fact you heard it.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, yeah, that's tough.
It's not tough. I mean, it's just like, well, what should I do? Grow out my beard and wear an America Patriot fucking shirt and buy a gun and like learn how to play pool?
Why are you trying this masking bullshit, bro? Like, you know it's not gonna work.
Bro,
it never does.
I'm clearly being satirical.
I know, but okay, so you're not actually pro masking.
I mean, I've masked my whatever was there. I don't think anything was there anymore. It's like putting a mask over nothing. But now it's like I hate this. I'm in like Monad or Godhead, and I'm like, it's not proper for it makes sense. I can map it out if you want to talk about it, but like I need to calibrate, as I mentioned to you and Jen, such that not masking, but being able to take my waveform or take my optimum on the gradient and deform it or smooth it out so it matches with everybody else's, so we can dance together and have sex.
Yeah, but I don't know. Do you think that that's something you could just do?
In current Western red pill modern social media language, I was just fucking mogging them too fucking hard, bro.
I know what that's about, man. I've been mogging since 2002.
I mean, when we did talk I can see where this might be coming from. You think it has to do though with the state, with the kind of consciousness shift that you had or that you're in right now?
I think it's a byproduct,
Okay. Because I'm not going to lie, I kind of have been feeling like that too, a little bit. Just kind of in the background. Just that feeling. I mean, I don't know, phenomenal. Okay, so am I tripping? Or if you look in the corner of in your periphery, is there a very, very, very slight kind of warping almost of the visual field? Like as if it was like a fisheye lens kind of thing? Or am I just completely going insane?
No, you're tweaking.
You don't notice that, because I didn't notice it before either. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, is this what Lahar was talking about? Because he has these like illustrations where it depicts the little avatar, the diorama, but it's like warped as if it was on a fisheye lens. And I'm like, what is he talking about? That's not what vision looks like. But I think I've been noticing that recently. Okay, do this experiment then. Let's test that. When you're driving, right, and there's cars on, let's say you have like a decent distance between the other road that goes the opposite way that you're driving. When you look at those cars in the periphery, do they not look like they stretch out a bit once they're reaching the periphery and about to disappear? Like, test that for me.
Yeah, I haven't paid attention to the periphery while I'm driving.
Okay. Well, you're not paying attention you're not turning your gaze, obviously. You're covertly paying attention to your peripheral vision, obviously, right? Because you can't overtly attend to your peripheral Well, unless you're just talking about the physical periphery, right? But you get what I'm saying. I'm saying you're going, if anything, you can only do this experiment if you're paying attention straight ahead.
I have an experience that's kind of like that, but I don't know. Are you talking about the vision field?
Optics. Yeah, the vision field at the corners. It seems like, and I don't know, I could be tripping. It seems like at the corners it is slightly warped, like curved, probably because of the shape of the retina, right? Because it's curved.
Do you know what drishti is?
What's that?
So you're not familiar with this concept?
No, I'm not. What is drishti? If I pronounce it drishti or something. What is that?
Yeah, in this life, I decided not to be crazy obsessed with pronunciation because I can't be perfect on everything.
Yeah. Okay, but what is it?
I'm putting it in the chat. It's like where your mind is looking. It's a function of like how concentrated the gaze is and the direction. So like most of the time people are looking straight ahead and down. And it's pretty focused, but it's not strong because they don't have any practice.
This is like jhana practice. Yeah, I've never tried doing that for more complex phenomenal objects. Like a concept. Can you focus on a concept when you make that your object of meditation?
No, concepts are revealed knowledge. Drishti is rooted in direction. There's 24 elements and stuff's all explained in terms of elements. So direction's one of them. But it's not just direction. It's also what's the word? 3-dimensional directed beam.
I hope this noise cancellation is good. Because I'm munching on an apple right now. I hope it's not annoying. I'll mute myself.
So like when you're reading, go ahead.
I thought he said object, not concept.
No, I was just wondering if you could also do that with a concept.
My bad.
As with an object of meditation, like can you focus on can you make that your object of meditation, a concept?
Sorry to come off as autistic here, but there's like also a non-directional focus. That's not drishti.
Non-directional, like covert attention, what I was describing.
I don't know how else to describe it other than like non-directional, like where you've integrated all the directions to just.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. There's no arrow of attention, and you're. It's almost like a merging with the object.
And my point is that's not drishti.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yeah, that's interesting because I noticed there does seem to be a. Okay, first, are you still anal about the use of the word Gestalt because of the German word and
I was
how
never anal about it. I just wanted to make sure that I knew which definition was being used so that I didn't get confused.
Gestalt means form, right?
Okay, so here's the question. Is there a difference between which direction you're focusing in and what you're realizing as a result of the focus?
Realize on what time scale? Like
anyone.
Okay, what are the differences?
I don't know. I'm asking you. Is there a difference?
Oh, okay, so what is drishti is focus attention.
It's looking in a direction with your mind.
But it can also be with your eyes, right?
Eyes can be in the same direction of drishti, and if you're not initiated, that's where they're just gonna be the same if you're not initiated. They're going to be perceived as the same thing.
Yeah, I tried doing the experiment with my brother. Either he didn't understand or he's, I don't know, or he's actually that autistic that his attentional system is different. I was like, I'm going to hold up my finger in front of your face. I want you to pay attention. Look at my finger, but pay attention to something.
I don't like where this is going.
And he just immediately looks at, I'm like, no, I mean, hold your gaze on the finger, but pay attention in your peripheral vision to something. Yeah, to something in your peripheral vision. And then he just immediately glances to the side. I'm like, dude, do you not know what that is? Do you not know how to do that? Like, I don't know. That's crazy to me. Maybe some people aren't able to deploy covert attention. Maybe it's not a universal skill.
Haven't you seen research that says that most people don't have metacognition?
All right, you got to Cain enable that shit.
And do what? What does that mean? Like, kill my brother?
Kill your brother.
I mean, I would be able because I'm younger. He's older than me.
Sorry, dark humor.
Yeah, it was just funny. It was just because I think you guys understand that, right? Everyone understands covert attention. The question.
Why my drishti don't line up with my apparent direction of material perception? Why no? I've never heard of that.
I know, right? But imagine not being able to consciously conjure up that ability. Like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me. That's kind of crazy. I think everyone has covert attention, right? But it's just the degree to which, how much conscious control you have of it, maybe. Metacognition.
Yeah, most people don't conduct inner speech. So
Joe,
that means there's absolutely zero. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I mean, I think when you were asking me about the bar scene, when at the smoke bar, whether they called me robot or not, that was my covert attention tuning the attentional spotlight into my covert attention. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm going to go and say you're fucking robo right.
Yeah.
So I must have some level of metacognition.
I can do a test right now. I literally just thought of one. You want to try it?
Yeah.
Everyone can try it. Okay, so look down and focus on look down towards your chin. And how hard is it to focus on the point where your brow meets your hairline in the center of your face?
At the same time?
Yeah.
I'm not having any difficulty.
Say that again?
Yeah, then you have already more degrees of metacognition than most people could ever fathom, because it's not just one degree of metacognition. It's how many coherent, self-interferential.
Okay, so you look down at your belly button.
Where's your chin? You want to look at your chin, i.e., you're looking at something you cannot see, but it's still proximal. Okay, I can explain what the test is like doing.
Yeah.
Looking down there. Mm-hmm. How easy is it to bring your mental focus to the point where in the center of your face where your brow meets your hairline?
Wait, where does my brow meets my hairline? You talking about like...
Okay, like imagine there's like a line dividing the face in two where that point intersects the hairline. A line intersects the hairline. It's a point. At the top of the brow, imagine right between your eyebrows and then go up all the way to the hairline.
Okay, yeah, so you just mean my hairline. Like basically the top of the...
I mean the point at the hairline.
So are you talking about that? Because I don't know, I guess focusing on a single sensation of that point.
Without breaking awareness of the chin, because you don't actually have any direct awareness of the chin, but without breaking focus on the chin, can you focus on that point?
You're saying paying attention to your chin as in the sensation of the chin.
Not paying attention, looking at it. Looking at the chin and paying attention to that point. So if you can do that just with no problem, then you already have more metacognition than most people could ever dream of.
Okay. So I'm just like looking down. I'm standing right now. So if I were to do that, I'd be looking. I have my chin all the way on my chest. I'd be looking down and I'd be trying to pay attention to that sensation.
There's no point to you don't have to move your chin. You can keep your chin where it is, but you want to look at your chin.
But I can't see it unless I'm in a mirror.
That's the whole point. It's not about whether you can see it. It's about whether you can do the exercise.
So whether I can feel my chin?
You're already feeling yourself. Trivially, you're always feeling yourself at all times.
Okay, so what you really mean is you want me to pay attention to whatever sensation is tagged chin. You don't actually.
Well, there's active contemplation and then there's passive contemplation. And when you say pay attention to, that makes me think it's passive.
Active.
And I'm talking about something active.
How is that different than looking, though?
I don't ever usually talk about, I don't usually make exercises with passive techniques because that just doesn't work. Look is also passive. I mean, conventionally, you just see and stuff appears. You just have your eyes open and stuff appears. So I don't get what the distinction is. Just because that may be true or whatever doesn't mean that looking isn't intentional or active.
It sounds like what you're testing is your ability to divide attention between two separate objects, right? Here's the thing, though.
It's also can you use the chi that's accumulated in the chin to redirect it to a place that is pretty easy for it to go?
The head, right?
Your nose.
That point in particular.
Oh, you mean like the third eye in between the eyebrow, or just like all the way up to where the hairline is?
Yeah, we're
or in the middle.
Not the third eye.
Why? I don't know. It just seems weird. Okay, so you want me to focus specifically on the middle of my hairline, the front hairline.
Okay, so in your terms, it would be active focus, looking, beholding, perceiving the chin, and then passive focus on the point.
Okay, but here's the thing. I guess what I'm trying to get at, our vocabulary here is very different, I think. And maybe that's just because of my specific meditative training and tradition that I've followed in the past. Not anymore.
But like, Joe, on a scale from 1 to 10, how easy would that be? 10 being like ultra hard, I guess. Because you said you could do it, right?
Here's a better test, though. I have a better test. When you're doing that, can you tell how your attention is? Can you tell the flip rate between which object is more prominent in your attentional field? Because if you actually pay attention, it's very difficult to pay attention to two separate things at once without your attention actually just rapidly strobing between them. I guarantee you this. You can try it. Oh my God.
Sorry. Setting. Is it over?
Yep, we're good.
Yeah, what's interesting though, when we're talking about attention and stuff like that, you see why I'm interested in Gestalts though, Jen?
Because they're rendered using more than one perspective and therefore more rich?
Rendered using more than one perspective. Rendered, what do you mean by rendered? Like you're talking about the physical creation of the image?
Yeah.
Like the image that is the Gestalt.
That
More
which
than
was
one
beheld. I
perspective.
don't want to call it an image because
Oh,
then I
like
don't want to get dragged down
multi-stability?
the fucking
right.
fucked up
The
direction of
multi-stability.
talking.
No, but Gestalt isn't just restricted to the duck and the rabbit or the Necker cube. It's the Gestalt really, in their minds, was the emergent configuration of the sensory field that now adopts, you could say, more information than is contained in the visual parts. But it's not more information, it's actually less information, right? That's the thing. It's actually, but it's information that isn't present. Yeah, that differs from. But you're right, it is less information. It's like dimensionality reduction. That's what learning is.
Oh, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
When you get like metacognitive and you're doing the chin brow test that Jen prescribes, and then you try to do the flip rate test, you're bifurcating your attention to the point where you can't actually do Jen's test.
Wow,
No,
great
you're not.
job. That was so awesome.
I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Maybe you guys have been talking, just you two, but like I don't know what the fuck this is.
So let me
I'll
just
be
put it in.
honest.
Let me just give you an analogy. Jen's talking about shooting the lacrosse ball into the goal. You're talking about calculating the velocity and the vectorization of that ball.
Yeah, because I'm interested in the kind of thing. I'm interested in making a soccer player that's a lot better. No, I'm kidding. That's going a little far. But you get
It's
the point.
it's actually already been done before. It's been done before.
Yeah, I know. Of course, everything's been done. Everything's already been done. All you have is, I don't know. All you can do is really just contemplate it.
I know what your point is. That's why when we get together like this, it's like the conversation is not an argument. It's just a game. It's kind of like in Skyrim when the dragons breathe at or yell at each other and they're actually singing a song to each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good. I'm not about it at all, by the way.
No, I'm turned on.
Hey, yo, pause. Let's settle down now.
I'm messaging Aya. She said, Elara just called her. I'm considering inviting Elara, but she's very much so hedonist. Like she can talk the talk, but it's on like a monadic level of compression that's not really useful.
Is that the one that is the one I'm thinking of, bro?
She's a transgender yogic like shaman. Electric Elysium server. She runs that server.
Yeah, no, but is she the chemist, the neurochemist one?
No, that's Vivian.
Oh, okay.
Vivian's too busy counting raindrops on methamphetamine.
So they made it to the chiral tin field above the citadel. 知识之路已带你走了很远，最亲爱的观察者。What do you remember before you were born?
Hopefully not metaphysics again. Trying to be more empirically rigorous in my presentation. I don't want to come off like a charlatan.
Joe. It's redundant, but I feel that, like, I say redundant concepts to beginners because it's a teaching tool. And if they can manage to call it out as redundant, it's not actually hurting anything semantically. But technically, it's just parsimony. And metaphysics is the domain where you treat parsimony and, like, establish something as parsimonious versus something else.
Sure, but can I jump in without any context real quick?
Sure.
In the domain of empiricism, parsimony is only used with respect to relativity or like other forms of parsimony. So something doesn't necessarily have to be absolutely parsimonious to be a correct predictive model. In fact, most models are complicated and still have a predictive capacity, but what makes them maximally parsimonious is that they're less complicated than the set of all other models.
Well, no, they're less complicated than any other given model that has a comparable predictive range.
That's what I said, yeah?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I misheard you.
So then you just had a comparable predictive range, so then you're already baked into a notion of parsimony, a notion of predictive accuracy.
It's not a notion of parsimony, it's a notion of wanting to compare like to like. And I think it's called petitio principii, or it's like all things held. You have to have, ceteris paribus. You can't have multivariation if you're in a single line of inquiry.
Okay, so you're converging then. We're converging here, because I feel like I've said that multiple times, and I feel like it wasn't perhaps.
Well, it follows the notion of it follows the notion of computational preservation in a sense, like.
What is computational preservation?
Well, sorry, what were we just talking about?
We were talking about parsimony. I was just interested in your note and in relation to the least action principle, because there is a connection here, right? Like, when I think of choosing the least, like the most. What would you call the path that you take, the descent that you take in sort of a kind of inferential landscape?
That wouldn't be how we would frame it, because that is not a parsimonious way to frame it. So,
but it uses all the same mathematics that you would use to describe systems. Why is that not parsimonious?
It's presupposing on the level of. Sorry, I'm just driving. I'm having trouble focusing on the driving and the talking. So you're asking about the descent and the everything, because the path presupposes a starting point and an end point. I don't know if I mentioned the issue with that is the Cartesian plane is distances, and it's measuring distances in distances. And that may not mean anything. So framing it as a point, as a system evolving from a point down a path to another point, is not a parsimonious way to frame it.
Come on, you don't need to have units. You don't need to assign units. You can always use relative distances.
Right, but those distances presuppose stuff that probably can't be established physically. Because, like, is a line really the shortest distance between two, quote, points?
Well, it depends on which topology you're on, or I think topology is the right term to use here.
Right.
Geometry.
So, I guess we're going to look at things as we want our logic to be topology independent, because it's the logic operating on one level, and then the topology is an implementation of that logic. So to already pre-frame it at the level of logic as something that's mathematically.
Hold on. If you have a notion, if you have a general notion of distance that allows you to say, oh, in this space, this is the shape of the shortest path, and in this other space, this is the shape of the shortest path, that's still a pretty parsimonious characterization of the concept, is it not?
Right, but stuff's not taking a path to go from one state to another. It's shifting in harmonic resonance. So you can have resonators that are physically proximal or not, and they can shift their energetic distribution in a continuous way, but it's
shifting
between
can be
two
described as a distance.
It's a continuous shift in energy, but it's across a discrete spatial interval. That's not linear.
Well, it doesn't matter how you discretize space or not. The point is still that you can.
Hold on. It does matter. That's the thing.
Why?
It does matter.
But the relative ordering is the same.
Pause. The geodesic is not always a line, is why. And it's not.
Sure.
It's not in a trivial microscale thing.
But that's
it's
not relevant. The point is that there is a geodesic or a definition of the geodesic that you can use that's like independent of the particular geometry that you're dealing with. That gives you an answer for each of those geometries.
Right. So we have the correct phrasing, which is the path taken by a system is a geodesic. So that's step one. That doesn't presuppose points. That doesn't presuppose lines. That presupposes a path corresponding to a minimum energy. So that would be how you'd build it up. That would be the first phase of the build-up. Then the next phase would be presupposing where the system is divided. And where does it make sense
like
to presuppose where the system is divided? Not a boundary per se, but divisions within the system.
Okay, but I mean, you would have to have some sense of a collective boundary, otherwise you just have
the boundary
parts,
is just
right?
the boundary of possibilities. There's no such thing as a boundary. The boundary is technically the matter boundary, which is the QMPT. So trivially, everything's happening in the QMPT, but you might as well just say it's an open
regardless of where you choose to carve. Go ahead, Joe.
I want to ask two questions to Jen, and then I want Gus to give feedback after Jen. Okay, so let's say we have a super rugged terrain, and it's there's optima and minima. Okay, there's points laying on, or let's just say there's destinations, or maybe I don't know what the correct word is instead of point. There's two locations of interest, and then you somehow deform the landscape and you make it flat. I can see that in my understanding of my intuition anyway, if there's a completely flattened landscape, then and it's a topological landscape, then there really is no metric space invoked at this point. Therefore, any location is distance invariant, so to speak, or distance independent. Something can seem to be very far away, but be the ability to, I guess, teleport to one location. So that just lets me ask my second question as a context. Can you have a topological space, say you have two locations and it's still rugged, it's not flattened, but you can make a wormhole or a tunnel that connects one to the other? I can also see how that is another way to find a geodesic. Is my intuition off? Because I'm thinking in terms of modeling, and I'm thinking in terms of physics.
You're presupposing that objects exist in space. What happens is that matter simulates the appearance of space.
Wait, but
there's not
matter?
Any objects
what
in
is
space.
Matter? Describe matter without invoking space-time.
Okay, matter, I'm pretty sure that's one of the diagrams, that matter has 5 aspects. So matter is that which has 5 aspects and is observable.
And what are those 5 aspects?
Space-time, mass.
Oh, so the concept of matter already implies space and time, even though you're saying that matter gives rise.
It's a causal. I don't want to get derailed from Joe's thing. So where am I in the answer to your thing, Joe?
So I apparently am thinking of these 2 arbitrary locations on a landscape, independent of its geometric formation, or topological formation, I should say, as locations in space-time. But this goes back to what you were saying about these harmonic, what did you say, harmonic resonators?
Oscillators, resonators, you can call them whatever you want.
Okay. I mean, at the very least, this idea of distance is a useful heuristic.
I guess I would have to ask about the rules of the wormhole. Like, are you forced to remain? Like, how does that work? Like, can you open a wormhole anywhere? do the wormholes only exist insofar as to flatten space-time, that kind of thing?
Well, I'm not presupposing a physical symmetry group for space-time. I'm just saying some arbitrary ambient space or topological ambient space has this ability to deform into a tunnel or wormhole-like structure.
Let me ask you a clarifying question, Joe. Are you essentially saying if we have this ability, then we have an additional notion of a shortest path that isn't just like whatever the straight line is for that space?
I guess I'm just trying to circumvent this idea, no pun intended, that there is a need for points and lines. I see why in the future we will not be using points and lines. I have that intuition as well. But I'm trying to wrap my head around, is the mathematical modeling that my intuition is pointing at, is it mappable, so to speak, no pun intended, to Jen's metaphysics?
It could be consistent with my metaphysics. It can't be mapped onto metaphysics because math is an implementation of metaphysics. And when I say math is metaphysical, what I mean is that it's appealing to axioms.
Okay, Jen, if somebody put a gun to your head and said you have to learn category theory because it might help you and it might not help you, would you do it?
Well, if I had a gun to my head,
yeah, so
they're gonna kill me.
So it basically, so you would either learn category theory and apply it to metaphysics formally as like I know what you just said about math being not metaphysics not presupposing a mathematical architecture, but at least to have a proxy framework or a proxy architecture that can act as a justifiable bridge to empiricism and modeling. Would you would either do that with a 50-50 shot, maybe that it would be useful proxy or useful to you, or you would cease to exist and experience eternal oblivion?
If I thought it would actually help me communicate with people, I would do it, but I tend to not do stuff that I struggle to understand.
So you're capitulating to the toil gradient.
Well, it's a matter of practical utility. I don't see how I would use it.
Well, the only reason I bring up cats is because when you talk about like these, not enigmatic, but just like this like all-encompassing kind of metaphysics, it does remind me of this structure called a monad. And I know you know what a monad is in category theory, but a monad has interesting properties when it stands alone with its identity functor. And I wonder if there's a space for category theory as per proxy architecture to your framework. I'm just speaking out of intuition, not necessarily having read anything in particular that makes me think, oh, Jen could find this useful.
It's mostly matrices because the idea is that observation is interferential, and that effect is somewhere from 0% to 100% of your observation. So, like if I use a ruler to measure my hand, that's almost zero, and as a point of fact, it's de facto zero. Well, de jure zero, sorry. It's for all intents and purposes, it's zero interference, even though technically the light interferes with your eye when you look at a ruler. And then there's 100% interference, which happens on the level of chemical reactions because they're in aqueous and they're completely basically dissolved in each other. Like they're not having a reaction on one side of the atom, the whole system's involved in a reaction.
Are you talking about empiricism? Wait, hold on. I have that same question, but I'm curious. Like, you're talking about empiricism right now, like physics, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about what applies to my way of thinking, and it's essentially a matrix. So you have your starting point of the system. The matrix multiplies that starting point of the system into a modified version of it, and the matrix.
It's a transition matrix. I'm about a transition matrix.
Yeah, and you tweak it based on how much of the observer effect you expect in your sample.
Right, but
And I said that there's a 0 to 1 possible range where the observer effect is at play.
so you're presupposing the metric space right now because you're talking about
algebra without fucking points.
and matrices are encoded more.
It's just logic, and it doesn't, because the fact of using a matrix is an approximation, and we know it's an approximation, and precisely where it's an approximation is the linearity, but it's linearity of its own components, not linearity of what it's representing. That's why you need so many matrices to get the LLMs, because they're representing something that's fundamentally nonlinear in a linear substrate.
Right. Wait, so I have a question. So if matrices like TPMs are based on or encodable as graphs, then are the edge distances physical distances, or are they just like metaphorical distances?
Everything's metaphorical because it's a model, because the presupposition about the continuity of numbers is false.
Right.
You can't have arbitrary physical granularity.
Okay,
Like,
so all I have to say to invoke consistency with you is when Gus and I use points and lines, we just have to, when we talk to Jen, we just have to say that we're using them per metaphorical.
Which doesn't make any sense, because like even the notion of point and line is already a general notion that you can sort of make. It's a general notion. It's already implicitly
there's no
invoked when you do
points
linear
and lines
algebra.
here. There's a form. So the matrix
vector
acts
is
on
not
a
a point.
form.
Oh, dude, you would love category theory. Oh my goodness, this is categories.
Who, me?
No, Jen.
Oh, I mean, I probably would too. I like finding like equivalences.
Okay, so think of a matrix whose eigenvalues are 1 and -1. So it's.
Okay. So like
it acts on a vector. The
diagonal.
vector is unchanged in magnitude.
Along the diagonal, right?
Well, if a matrix with
Or anti-diagonal
eigenvalues of 1 and -1 acts on a vector, then the magnitude of the vector,
eigenvalues, sorry.
the size of the vector, the absolute size of the vector doesn't change, because the eigenvalues are 1, and the definition is that it's the eigenvalue times the vector, right?
Sure.
So
sure.
think of that as a normal measurement. So when the eigenvector is 1, that is your completely non-interferential measurement.
Wait. But then how do you have a notion of eigenvector? Because an eigenvector is a scaling of the vector. And when you scale the vector, the only meaningful sense in which you've changed the vector is you've increased its distance. It's still pointing in the same direction. So again, you can't escape.
Yes, it's a model. It's a model. It's a question of what is being modeled with a vector. Okay. And that's what's
then you're already buying into the whole points and lines metaphor or modeling metaphor.
I have tremendous respect for what the Western canon has achieved in regards to technical sciences. And this is exactly why. The problem with them is that they don't know where it stops being reality and starts being a model. And the strength of my system is that you can see exactly where it becomes a model.
Okay, but the way you test that, Jen, is you actually subject a theory or any claim to actual empirical disconfirmation. And so if you're metaphysically theorizing, you can't knock. You're not playing the same game as the empiricist, because they're playing the game of, I want to use the mathematical abstraction that allows me to predict what's going to happen. So why are you pretending to object to something which you've already, the concepts you implicitly invoke, and that don't even make the same variety of claim as, like, this is what I'm still struggling to understand. Why such a like violent pushback against empiricism? You're not playing the same game.
Well, just because they lost the game doesn't mean we're not playing the same game.
What do you mean lost the
Well,
game?
the
Again,
set,
what is your metric?
if the set empiricism and the set utility, or excuse me, the set metaphysics were compared for utility, the space of utility is much larger for the set empiricism than it is for the set metaphysics. Not to say that.
There's a whole can of worms. What is utility? Oh.
Well, I don't mean like that, but like I'm sure in a meta. So I mean like
I agree with you, by the way. I'm just telling you the pitfall. This is an objective.
So let's say ahimsa is the utility. So yes, we have a metaphysics. Obviously, is like a direct route, but is few shot. There's only so many ways the set metaphysics can give the ahimsa, and it does a great job. In fact, it's the geodesic for that problem space. But then when you have the convolutedness of modern society and Western society and all the problems that have been caused maybe by religion and science itself, we have the cancer imaging, we have drugs, we have stop signs and infrastructure, all of this utility to help get people, their ahimsa or their relief from suffering.
Just hold on a second. Jen, can you hear me? I just want to test if it's my connection or Joe's.
I can hear you. And I can hear Joe fine too.
It's my connection.
I think there's utility in both.
Of course. I mean, think of AI as like more non-dualist style technology. AI needs all the data that was generated by the empiricists to work, so they're doing complementary things. The issues really only arise when there's a confusion between a model, a scientific model, and an ontological actuality. And I'm not saying that either of you make that mistake. I'm just saying, like, that's why I'm framing math this way. It's not to be a troll. It's so that it's obvious where it's a model and where it's not, and that all your presuppositions are actually things that you've gone through in a sequence, and you know the whole sequence that led you to start your calculations. Because right now, math just kind of starts. Where does math actually start?
I would say number theory.
I would agree with you. I think it starts with the number lines. So you notice how that's already quite metaphysically heavy. Like, Gus, I don't know if you could steel man the position that has a considerable metaphysical inheritance.
That assumes I agree that numbers are where it starts. And I'm not entirely sure that I would agree. I think sets are probably a better place to start.
We're not talking about how it is on a theoretical level, but how it's introduced on a pedagogical level.
Oh, okay. Well, then now then you can't use. Okay, so if that's the case, right? Then we have to restrict the conversation to pedagogy.
Well, is it just? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is it just pedagogical, Jen, or is it also ontological? Because the original man and woman would see multiples or quantities of things, right? So that is a...
Well, that's the thing. It's not ontological at all. It's a heuristic for perceptual differentiation, but that's still into the differentiation of the same kind of things.
All right, so we all disagree on where number theory comes from, but I agree with Jen on number theory as the starting point, and Gus is unsure.
So if you just grant that as a pedagogical starting point, then you see why I would take issue with that, because they didn't go through any of the presuppositions that the number systems had. I can't hear you, Gus, if you're talking.
Again, this is pedagogical.
Well, the pedagogy comes from the scholastic Roman tradition, which in theory is supposed to list axioms first as per Euclid's Elements and derive facts from there. And the more modern mathematical system tries to emulate that.
Doesn't make sense.
They try to emulate from self-evidence. They try to emulate the traditional scholastic approach through self-evidence, but they're saying that the number line is self-evident. I'm saying it's not. It only seems self-evident relative to conventional experience.
but here's the issue, right? Not the issue. Just this first, I'm going to respond to this guy. I'm going to treat your claims pedagogical. Now, if you want to...
You're kind of roboting. Gus,
You might want to restart Discord because you're roboting.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like on my phone. Hopefully it's on my phone. But if it happens again, then I don't know what to do. I'll probably just have to... I don't know why I've been having this issue. It might be a range issue on the Wi-Fi, the router. But I'm going to respond on a pedagogical level because, I think that, like you said, if you're addressing this as on a pedagogical level, then I'm going to respond on that level. And if you decide...
I'm not, but I could start anywhere if I was going to do a derivation.
Okay, so here's what I would say. What's your point, then, is I guess what
my point is that there's no presuppositional analysis of the number lines. They're just given as self-evident notions.
But again, is that a pedagogical claim or a metaphysical
claim? Yes, it's a pedagogical claim. Okay. It's a pedagogical claim.
So then I'm going to respond to that as a pedagogical claim, and what I would say is that
the point of the pedagogical claim is to point to a flaw in the empirical approach, which is an epistemological flaw.
That's not how people learn. That's not how people... If you try teaching people analysis before they learn calculus the mechanical way, it just doesn't work like that. You don't have any... To start with the most abstract notion, like axiom, that's not how people learn. That's not a natural way to learn. You introduce the concrete object first, and then the person learns the
not in an abstract domain. I'm sorry, not in an abstract domain.
But we're talking about math.
Which is an abstract domain. So they try to start with an axiom that's self-evident, but they fail because it's not really self-evident.
I thought you said the other way around. I thought you said they don't start with the entire axiomatic foundation of mathematics when they're teaching it.
They do attempt to do it, but they do not give any presuppositional analysis of those, quote, self-evident. Because if something is self-evident, it doesn't have to presuppose anything. They're not necessarily articulating that, but I think that's their logic.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of it is kind of self-evident. Like if you ask some random
person... Right, but that's
the
thing. There's no such thing as self-evident on an ontological or metaphysical level.
But then you see how you just smuggled in metaphysics when we're talking about pedagogy and mathematics. So then which
because we're pointing to why my metaphysics is superior. And the way you establish something is superior...
How can you endlessly justify something? The buck has to stop somewhere, no?
You only make presuppositions that aren't contradicted by physics.
Okay.
So any presupposition will work.
Physics, all of physics requires to make sense of physics. I mean, yeah, you can talk about it on the issue is that if you're talking about it on a concrete level, like the sensory level of physics, you can come to very wrong notions, right? Like Aristotelian physics. So therefore, to even have a coherent notion of physics, you already have to have mathematics to describe it.
Well, no, physics, all you need is logic and an understanding of matter, which is how the yogis did it. So this is physics first, then math.
In a way, it is like that, because we have the physical world before we have an abstract notion of abstract objects, right?
Well, the number line is an appeal to physics, but it's an indirect appeal to physics. It's saying we can count everything, therefore the number line is useful.
Yeah, provided that you... Yeah, I think that's one of those things where it's a general concept that how can you justify that? It's almost self-evident.
You don't. You can't justify numbers as I guess you'd call it a primitive of logic. You can't justify something like numbers as a logical primitive because it's contradicted by matter. which is non-dual, so there's no such thing as separate numbers. You can still use it as a model, but you don't want to put a model on the very first level of your reasoning, because then your whole thing is unstable.
Then can you explain how we're able to use numbers so well to model something that you're saying contradicts the notion of them?
Brute force. Why do you think it takes so many transistors to build an LLM? Because it's imitating something that's fundamentally nonlinear in quantum in a fundamentally linear non-quantum array.
Yeah, and even when you say quantum, it's like the very notion of quantum is already invoking several mathematical, very advanced mathematical abstractions. So it's like, I just don't know how you can.
I can.
I just don't know how you do that.
I can reconcile this because what she said. So I was originally going to say, okay, if not number theory, vis-a-vis the number line, then it must be topology, which is the other side of the spectrum, so to speak. But then I thought, well, she just invoked physics again, which implies the metric space, which is a geometric object, not a topological one. But now I'm looking into what you're saying about mathematical logic not mathematical logic, excuse me. Just, what is it, metaphysical logic, Jen? This reminds me of what is known in category theory as a topos or topoi, which is essentially an abstract universe in which we can talk about this proxy architecture. You can use intuition in a topos. You can use normal logic. You can use any type of logic. I'm just curious, like from a pedagogical approach, unless you're like born in an involutional country like China, you're probably not going to learn topology first. But they probably have like a Fisher-Price, my first topology lesson. But I mean, I
feel like we're getting so sidetracked right now.
No, I'm trying to reconcile where. So basically, what I'm saying is, we were originally on number theory. It started to sound like metric spaces when the physics was invoked. But the thing about topos is it involves sheaf theory or sheaves, which is local data packets. And if I know anything about Jen, it's that she's a data scientist at heart, or using some type of fundamental data anyway. So I can see how there's this link between cats, namely topos and sheaf theory, and co-sheaves and co-pre-sheaves, and what she's trying to say. But pedagogically, the toil gradient is exponentially higher than if somebody started off with the number theory book or the number line, so to speak. So I agree with Gus, but I'm trying to reconcile with Jen. I don't think I'm going tangential here.
That's fine, but then if we're making a pedagogical claim, then the claim should be about what? That the axioms of mathematics need to be introduced early on. Well, Jen is saying that. So I think I misunderstood your claim. You're saying they are introduced, but they're not justified. But then it's almost like, how would you justify an axiom?
They're not justified in my system. Their presuppositions are listed, which is not the same as a justification.
So they're also axiomatic in your system.
So the presuppositions are what's missing in the Western approach. Because what does a number line presuppose? Separate entities.
Yeah, because that's like
it also presupposes an order, and it presupposes an absence of a boundary.
Wait. Ordering is stated explicitly, though. That's like the first axiom that they introduced. The ordering of the real number line when you study analysis. That's like the first thing.
But it's not presented as a presupposition, and then later on it's not. The limits of the presupposition are never asserted. So that's the thing. Like, presuppositions aren't universal. You have to assert where they apply.
Because again, on a pedagogical level, you can't cover all of that in a single class.
Well, you wouldn't cover it in a single class. This is like for curriculum design. It wasn't originally a pedagogical point. The original point was using pedagogy that already exists to make a point about why my approach is better, because it's actually listing the presuppositions as presuppositions, and then you can compare presuppositions later on to other implementations.
Yeah,
It's
that's like
basically
a philosophy of math class. You'd be teaching a philosophy of
It's
math
not.
class.
So here's the thing. There's a gap right here. It's called special knowledge. Okay, I'm not trying to be mean. All Jen needs is a protege or several to make a justifiable proxy bridge with a proto-mathematics like category theory that's a math but also not a math, that acts as a bridge between the people she wants to get on board and teach versus, her actual metaphysical ontology about soteriology or whatever.
I don't know. It just seems like there's an axe to grind here when addressing these.
That I have an axe to grind?
Yeah, it seems like you have an axe to grind specifically, and it seems to be driven by a sociological concern about the relative impact, the relative societal, what you perceive to be the relative societal impact of the traditional Western approach to mathematics and science versus...
Well, wouldn't you do that if you were me?
I suppose I would, but I feel like that's not a very interesting truth to state, right? If I were you, I would do exactly what you do, yes.
I mean, people have different motives and personalities that we can extract their information, the purified information from them regardless. It's just part of life. We have this, and again, I'm not trying to like dick ride Jen or anything. That it's never my intention to dick ride Jen, just so you know, Gus. It's my intention to receive knowledge or information from her and then associate that with my own projects. And one of my long-term projects that I do consider is being Jen's helper, like her little elf. But I don't know if that's going to happen. It's obviously, I think more along the lines of how I'm going to help you. I think more along the lines of how I might help a Job or Enzo. But I'm going to stop talking about myself because I think I got my point across.
But yeah, if I have an axe to grind because I'm sad, because instead of teaching people how to be happy, people who learn science are not really having much civic responsibility in society, and most people are very unhappy. Like,
do you really think that's the case? Again, like, I feel like all of these are claims that can be evaluated on an empirical level. Like, is that really true, though? Or is that your...
True that most people are really unhappy?
It's okay. Well, no, you're not just saying most people are really unhappy. You said something specifically about a subset of those people.
Well, I don't think the people who are like the vanguards of the current mathematical establishment are necessarily intentionally oppressing people's potentiality, because that would imply they already knew the proper way to teach the stuff and were intentionally covering it up, which is unlikely.
No, that's not. I don't think that's the claim you're making. I think it's pretty clear that's not the claim you're making. But it seems like you're making a claim that you perceive that the ontological implications, the connotation, the ontological connotations of a materialistic worldview are negative for people's mental health, and therefore the extent to which you disagree with what you perceive to be the materialistic worldview and what it's based on, like mathematics and science, is directly proportional to your belief that of this downstream effect. Yeah, so then we're not really, that's why we talk past each other so often, because you're adopting basically a Jordan Petersonian stance of evaluating claims on the basis of the perceived societal effect of a societal or even long-term effect. But the problem is that to even evaluate that claim, how would you evaluate that claim? Because presumably that's also a claim that has a truth value, no?
The claim that I perceive society to be alien?
No, not the claim that you perceive.
I'm just not sure which claim you're talking about.
Claim
Sorry.
that these material, the problem is that there's several in your belief. It seems like there's several chains of dependencies that aren't even clear, actually hold in practice. So, for instance, the claim is that someone exposed to the standard scientific curriculum will develop a materialistic worldview. If they develop that materialistic worldview, they will have a certain mindset about the world. That particular mindset is going to lead to detrimental mental health outcomes for them.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
That's
Yeah.
an empirical claim.
That implies that someone actually contemplates the ontological implications of their worldview, and I don't know that every empiricist does that, but to the extent that they do, yes.
I think the good ones do that.
Wait. Hold up. I need to address this. Okay, so then if you're saying the effect is restricted to the subset of people that have this metacognitive ability to even ponder the philosophical assumptions upon
It's
which
not just them, it's the position of influence that they occupy in society. So when I was very young, I established which field would have the most credibility in society, and I picked math and physics.
Okay, but do you see how all of these claims that you're making, now you're making more than one claim, you're making a few.
Yeah, of course. That's why authority is the first claim that gets validated in this type of inquisition, right? Like right now you're evaluating my authority. Not any one thing I'm saying, just my overall authority. Once you accept my authority, everything I say, you'll just presume it as true unless something...
No, it doesn't matter what your authority is. It matters what evidence you can bring to bear. I mean, to me, the way I see it is like...
You got to realize in my worldview, everything depends on the authority of the person who said it.
And so that's like a fundamental then divide between us, because if your entire epistemology is based on word of mouth,
well, everything that you believe is also based on what people said. You just don't necessarily know their names.
Sure. I mean, I choose. Yes, there's some level of deferred authority, but the basis upon which you do that is not just because. It's not because of some intrinsic characteristic of that individual. You're making a set of assumptions that are well validated about the relationship between their understanding of that topic and the likelihood that the claims that they're making are true, right? Like, I'm more likely to trust someone that studied a certain topic more than myself on it.
Well, I'm not. Because look at the state of the world. If the people who claim to know stuff about topics were knowledgeable, wouldn't things be going better? Doesn't that imply that they don't really know what they're doing?
Yeah, but that implies you have access to the counterfactual. How do you know things wouldn't be much worse if we didn't go about it? And if anything,
because I know history. I know history.
Yeah, and the historical prior points to the fact that the world has. I mean, yes, you could say on a certain. There's always a trade-off, right? On a certain level, things have gotten worse. You could say, but like largely, like broadly speaking, we could all agree here that like none of us would want to be teleported to 300 years ago. We're so lucky to be alive in the time that we're alive. Nobody, like, you can say all of this, you can fetishize the past, but you would never want to be alive during that time period.
I'm not fetishizing 300 years ago at all, and I'm not suggesting
1,000 years ago, 2,000, whatever.
I'm not saying we go back to recent history. I'm saying we go back to the principles that made what aspects of civilization great in the first place. And those are the things that become forgotten when society becomes indulgent.
It's an empirical claim, right? The assumption that there was this...
It's not an empirical claim. It's a religious claim that you either accept or reject based on a cosmological worldview from Hinduism, which is that things deteriorate.
I don't believe that.
Things deteriorate. Then there's a revival of the underlying good principles, and then there's a golden age, and then it deteriorates, and then it gets restored, and it deteriorates, and that's the cyclic understanding of civilizational evolution. And if you disagree with that, well, you're basically saying that all of Indian history is inaccurate, and okay.
Okay, what about the lizards and the dragonflies and the plants and the other fauna and flora? Do they have cycles too?
I'm not sure. They do have cycles, but they're more about reproduction.
I think every object, every animate object
fundamentally lack any common ground at the end of the day epistemically. Like you're operating in a completely different epistemological paradigm than I am.
Well, of course I am. Nothing that I fundamentally believe is present in the West in any meaningful way. So of course.
Well, there's one thing. There's one thing though, Jen. It's Alfred Adler's will to power is something you definitely agree with, which is another way of saying appeal to authority, logical fallacy, which is something you do. You're too good to end your arguments with, I have secret knowledge, therefore I'm right. Like, that's some bullshit.
That's not what I'm trying to say. The point was about authority and whether you accept it.
Yeah, it's called look up Adlerian psychology. It's related to the West, most
But I
definitely.
think what Joe said also does cut through a lot of noise here. Like, is that not fundamental? Is that not ultimately? Does it not boil down to that fundamentally? If you're just going to appeal to some self-ascribed authority that you think you have.
Yeah, that's something they can either take it or leave it. Everyone is doing that. I'm actually just being honest about it.
Well,
Compare on an observable level the difference between your approach and the empirical approach. Me and some other dude in China can come to the same conclusion, even if we don't share the same cultural assumptions, even if we don't share the same philosophical assumptions, right? But we can actually get the same result doing the same exact experiment. And we can agree, we can at least discuss the possible explanations for that and not be completely on loose ground, if you will.
Well, you're in loose ground in the sense that you can't talk to anyone outside of the West about philosophy because what you're saying only makes sense in Western philosophy. And if that's what you want, then that's fine. People should pursue philosophy for whatever reason they want.
I think he's saying the perks of empiricism is that he can talk to someone in the East about something that's experimentally verifiable.
A scientist in the East.
Yeah, you can.
Science is not restricted to a particular cultural. That's the advantage. Isn't my approach in principle would allow me to arrive at your conclusion, but your approach precludes any other conclusion, but the conclusion you've already accepted from the beginning. So that seems to be.
Well, you don't know that you could come to the way you're phrasing it presupposes that you.
I can imagine.
It presupposes that you come to a conclusion based on gathering a set of facts, whereas the evidence supports that it's aesthetic preferences that make people sympathetic to arguments.
That's for philosophical positions, but no, you can adopt if that's what you think. If that's what you think, I think that's more of a projection then, because to me it does sound like that's kind of your approach to having these conversations. Sure, on some level, when you have 5 different philosophical positions that make no empirical claim, that aren't empirically falsifiable, then you could say that, well, your tendency towards one or another it has to be driven by factors that are not empirically related, like aesthetic judgment or aesthetic preferences. But no, when I'm thinking of matters that I believe are empirically consequential, my guiding principle is empiricism.
Right.
Yes, I make metaphysical assumptions there.
Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions there.
Those metaphysical assumptions are the metaphysical assumptions that almost everybody else makes in their daily life.
That from a perspective of Buddhism is considered a fallacy.
No, it's not. Not really.
The two truths doctrine. The two truths doctrine.
Even that
you can't reify the two truths doctrine.
Bullshit. Buddhism is some bullshit. Okay, that's it's such bullshit.
Gus.
It's actually bullshit.
You don't have to agree.
I'm sorry. It's actually garbage.
You don't have to agree with it, but when your stuff is contradicting what a system that's existed for millennia is saying, you have to.
Again, you're assuming that because it's been around for so long, it's correct. Why is that the basis upon which?
I don't think Buddhism is correct. By the way, I don't think it's correct. I think that it's been around for a long time.
Oh my gosh! Stop addressing a stronger point than the point that I'm making. You understand very well what I'm saying right now in relation to what you're saying. If your claim that it's more correct than my claim, okay, let's stay with this at the comparative level that you're making it, right? Then you're still making that comparative judgment. You're using this criteria of how long it's been around, and that I don't see how that makes any sense.
I said that if you're contradicting a system that's been around for a long time, that's something to look at. It may not be the end of the world, but you want to be able to account for why you're contradicting a system that's been around for a long time.
Okay, so let me rephrase what I said. I don't think Buddhism is bullshit. I think they were phenomenological scientists in a certain way, but they of course reified it into metaphysical claims about reality. And I still feel like there's an overprivileged notion. But here's the thing: even in later traditions of Buddhism, you have this emphasis on not not making the abs like what you perceive to be the ab, because like it's a matter of perspective, right? And at the end of the day, if you consider absolute truth to be like awareness, like groundless awareness or something like that, it's like fine, but that shouldn't contradict your scientific investigation. I don't see those two things as being like opposed to each other. That's the thing. I feel like they're integrated. They're integrative.
They're not opposed to each other. In fact, I think the hard pill for both of you to swallow is that aesthetics and preferences will eventually be empirically verifiable. In other words, there's some aesthetics that are more aesthetic than others. We already see this.
It's not like that, but maybe you could identify the neural correlate of someone's aesthetic preference, and you can modulate that in real time.
I'm going as far to say, if you see a million painting variations or a million faces, you'll be able to infer one day with science which ones are superior to others on the aesthetic metric, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know if that's one. To me, that might be one of those things that there just is no fact of the matter on.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
Yeah, you're an aesthetic realist. Yeah, I guess I'm not as confident in my position on aesthetics.
But you believe in the Hegelian notion of a Geist, or wait, not a Geist. What was the thing? That word you always used from Hegelianism? Yeah, you believe in a Gestalt.
Hegel. Gestalt is not Hegel.
But you believe in a Gestalt, but isn't that aesthetic?
Wait,
No.
What do you mean Gestalt? Gestalt has a very specific meaning. I can see you trying to, not you specifically, but I could see an attempt to try to generalize it beyond the domain. But to me, Gestalt is a very specific word. And
But it's a specific aesthetic.
No, it's a very general thing.
You explain it.
It's a general category to describe that which can be understood as, like, for example, edge detection, surface detection. Then you could talk neurologically and say receptive fields, but I'll just keep it simple. Yeah. You have basically these higher order levels of features that arise. Whether they're ugly or beautiful, it doesn't matter. They could be, if they're on the same level of Gestalt, it doesn't mean the Gestalt is aesthetic, unless you're making some kind of claim that the idea of that which is a Gestalt general category is aesthetic, is kind of like saying, a dog is a number. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
A Gestalt is just a particular congregation, agglomeration, whatever the word is, like aggregation of features into a whole that is like that in a way is more than the sum of its parts. That's kind of like or different than the sum of its parts. That's another probably a more accurate.
Yeah, and the manner in which it differs from the sum of its parts is its integral aesthetic.
Okay, but a Gestalt is really it's something it's a psychophysically reproducible phenomenon. That's how I think of it. I don't use it in this philosophical aesthetic. Like, I use it as it's what allows you to perceive objects as still being the same.
Like, to me, it sounds like you're appealing to an aesthetic notion in the Gestalt, but then you're saying you don't see how aesthetic realism could bear any weight.
I don't. Okay, so if we want to have a conversation about aesthetic realism, then we should say that. But like to make the claim that the entirety of Gestalt theory is like is based on that. That's certainly not the angle at which I'm coming. Maybe it could be that like there are aesthetic preferences that bias your trajectory, your empirical trajectory. But the point is that like the aesthetic preferences are never the final verdict on your empirical.
But then you can just say that you have the aesthetic preference you have some aesthetic preference that deviates from what Joe was talking about, the universal aesthetic.
I just don't. I personally, I don't.
Like, some people are masochistic. They get a kick out of stuff that most people would find horrific. That's their aesthetic preference. It's a perverse aesthetic preference, but it's still what they prefer because that's the definition of preference, is something you're drawn to.
Okay, so what was the larger point we were trying to address here? Because I feel like we're
I was just surprised that you buy into the notion of Gestalt without conceding the primacy of aesthetics.
I mean, I don't know. I'm an agnostic. I haven't thought about the aesthetic side of philosophy. That's what I'll tell you. I don't have like a formed opinion on that. Like, and to me, I don't see those as related. Like, whether I was a aesthetic realist or anti-realist.
Well, guess how you discover whether stuff's parsimonious is whether it's pretty.
Yeah, and Gestalt has a kind of notion of that. But the point is that I don't think that that's... when you're doing science, that certainly should not be your criteria.
I'm not dick riding here, but I disagree, and I think Jen is kind of spitting right now.
Oh my gosh, bro! Like, okay, like let's just reduce everything to one single framework.
So just can I give you a tiny story? It's like 30 seconds. Okay, when I'm looking at my Twitter feed and I'm looking, like I'm scrolling, when do I stop? Is when I see a certain image or keyword that I find parsimonious with all that I've understood to that point, and it is relevant to me. It's like a gestalt that stops me, a higher order gestalt. So when should be a good example of how your intuition, your fusiform face gyrus, and different other cognitive faculties work, such that maybe aesthetic realism is evolutionarily contrived. People do things to their body to augment their look. People can rate women on the beauty scale of 0 to 10. This is just a commonplace thing that humans and even other animals do. The male peacock will shine its beautiful gestalt to a female in the form of wingspan, and the eagles do the same thing. Like, the mandarin duck looks like a fucking Chad for no fucking reason whatsoever. So yeah, there is other than to self-replicate its genome with a female. All right, 30 seconds is up.
Well, I guess I don't know that I have much else to say here. I think we're kind of at that natural point in the conversation where we can either switch the conversation to a different topic, or we're kind of just going to endlessly spin our wheels here, because I think we don't fundamentally share enough background assumptions that, like, having a kind of productive... Because here's the thing, right? Does that mean, when you share enough philosophical background assumptions, does that mean that you're always agreeing with each other? Not necessarily, right? You can share enough...
It depends on your axioms. Because if your axioms are just a model, then there's more room for having a different view.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Between two people who agree. If they're not a model and you came to them purely through logic that you all agree on, it's impossible to disagree, except for on a level of aesthetics.
And at that point, you just party with the person.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you don't have to agree on aesthetics, and I think it's actually really fun to disagree on aesthetics.
How do you disagree on aesthetics without appealing to some more fundamental value judgment or aesthetic principle that you would both share? And if you didn't share, then how would you ever even... you need a sufficiently... I guess you just need your intersection with the other person as far as, like, background assumptions go needs to be sufficient.
Well, remember, things are... Sorry, I just want to say, like, there's the intellectual scope, but then remember, we're holistic system, right? So you would just disagree on a higher order of magnitude.
Okay, so I feel like again, we're doing like this psychoanalytic thing where we're saying, okay, is it possible that aesthetic judgments they're like contagious, where they infect a person's judgment of something, and then so that's like a descriptive claim, and then there's like a normative claim of, like, is that well, the way I would characterize it, and then Jen would probably object to it by saying that it's also an aesthetic claim. the way I would frame it is like, okay, so there's the normative claim about how should one reason optimally, right? Like, what is the appropriate way to do, like, approximate Bayesian inference, if you wanted to really frame that? And then I'm sure Jen would say, well, that's an aesthetic preference you're already assuming for a particular kind of standard, a standard of normativity, right? And I just feel like we're constantly equivocating those two different levels of analysis of what do you call the field that the field in philosophy related to beliefs? I guess it's epistemology, but more like
intentionality.
Doxastic, something doxastic. I think that's like the general term, but like the notion that the kind of genetic analysis of, not genetic in the biological sense, but the analysis of how one comes about, what is the origin story of a person's belief structure, right? Like, is that aesthetically influenced? Sure. Like, I would never deny that. I think that that's probably correct, and I think that that's something you could probably empirically confirm as well. So you see how, like, I can actually converge to a similar position to you guys using empiricism, but then, or I shouldn't say you guys, I should say Jen, because I don't know that Joe is that committed to this perspective, but I know Jen is. It's just unclear to me. It's just unclear to me that whether the asymmetry here and like the fact that my epistemic framework allows me to get to where you are, but your epistemic framework doesn't allow you to get to where I am, isn't like a bit of an issue. That's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah, okay, just let me chime in real quick. So these are competing forces, aesthetics, empiricism, anything, philosophy, whatever. They're all competing holistically is what I think I got. You kind of like didn't hear that part, or you didn't understand it. Okay, so there's always going to be this tug intellectually between people who have different axiomatization or ontologies, worldviews. But then if you step outside of that, because remember, you're an ape, and like procedurally, I agree with you. Procedurally, I'm an empiricist before a father or a parent or whatever I will become. But at the same time, if to pander to Jen's idea of like arguing with someone, so to speak, who has a different aesthetic, that comes in different forms. That has nothing to do with, you could argue for fun, I guess. That's kind of like virgin coded. But there's other things you can do to dance with somebody who competes with you on an aesthetic level. Like, you probably don't agree with Maddie on everything that you talk about empirically or intellectually, but you can still, I don't want to be crass, you can still love her, you can still take care of her, you can still go to the park.
With her, yes.
Yes. So what I'm saying, that is the holistic, that is the higher order of magnitude. That is stepping out of the system.
Okay, fine. I take your point.
Okay, so, I notice you have a habit of, I guess it's totally fair, but like, why am I able to dance with vibes in a different level where it comes off as me like pandering to Jen to you, when in reality I'm just playing with energy and I'm learning at the same fucking time? But for you, it always has to be about this like going into your worldview and trying to reify your worldview. Jen's not off the leash either, because she's on this fucking power trip bullshit that needs to stop, in my opinion. Because if anyone's the highest in the room here, it's me. I'm the ultimate author because I'm a solipsist.
Okay, so very convenient. Okay, anyways. I can't say that anything that you said is wrong, because I think you're addressing like a different approach to these kinds of interactions, which is fine. I just don't know how much personally, I don't know how much utility I extract, and that's always relative to your particular, like, I guess, okay, if Jen and I were having a purely metaphysical conversation, right, even when it comes to like philosophy and metaphysics, right, I feel like I would get frustrated because I have a certain approach, and so like when I'm trying to have a conversation about metaphysics, right, okay, I wouldn't get frustrated necessarily. I think we can have good metaphysical conversations. My only problem is applying a standard, because what you're describing is fine, but then the issue is you're not using your approach to basically diminish empirical frameworks. That's the difference that I think is salient here. That is significant, right?
Who are you talking to?
I'm saying your approach is fine, and I think that like the way you're employing it is internally coherent, because you don't use that framework to diminish or to dismiss, I should say, empirical frameworks.
Right.
That's the
So
difference. You can segregate the two things.
right. So when I jump into a conversation with competing forces, like Jen, for example, it's a watercolor. It's like many watercolors splashed together. Then it eventually distills when I get home and I'm done and I sleep and I think on it and I ruminate and I see associations and, shit. And then I distill it back into my own worldview. And if you want me to be blunt, I weaponize everything Jen and you say for my own purposes, whether I'm talking to other people who matter to me. So it's very like politically coded. So if you want to use politics as a force, it doesn't matter. It's at the end of the day, my preference and aesthetic is empiricism.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, I'm not trying to change your view.
I know. But I like when you make an attempt.
That's funny.
Okay, can we change the topic?
Sure.
Jen, are you okay right now? You're driving? Okay,
No,
I don't...
No, I'm not driving. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so Gus and I had an excellent freaking talk about Grossbergian neuroscience, so I won't bother you with the details, but let's just say there's a chance that if the chill sparring got 1,000 or 1,200 views, that this video is going to get 5,000 views.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'm going to tell Steven to promote it. I'm going to be like, no, I'm not going to say that. You know what I wanted to say. But
I'm a little anxious about that, by the way. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll play it by ear. Once it drops, we'll see. Because I don't know if fuck, dude. You know how Steven is. He's like really nitpicky about his framework. He's gonna be like, what the fuck is this dumbass saying?
I can change the description so it's right now it sounds like very elitist, but I can change it to make it more like, hey, Joe and Gus explore their budding interest in cognitive science, like make it seem like we're still beginners, even though we're kind of IQ mogging a lot of normal academians. So there's a way to politicize it such that it's acceptable and palatable to Steven.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that like very carefully because, I don't know how he's gonna. I'm sure that in a way he's a little, as you can tell, he's kind of he's almost like starving for some kind of like
protege recognition.
Yeah, or recognition more so than anything else. But
could be your ticket to a specialized PhD program.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's honestly that is the main reason I am partial to your suggestion of doing that.
Yeah, what if he's like, I like that guy in the video, I'm gonna put him in my program, and you're like, oh, you're talking about me?
He's not active anymore. He's retired.
Well, whatever.
He does have connections though.
Basically, the end of my joke was, oh, me, I'm Gustavo. Nice to meet you. He's like, no, I'm talking about Joe.
Oh. Yeah, that'd be a good little plot twist.
No, I watched it again today. You IQ mogged me so freaking hard.
Well, I don't think I IQ mogged you because you your entire goal was to do almost like a little informal chat, but almost like a little bit of an interview because you wanted me to talk about my interests. So naturally, if we do another conversation and you talk about structural biophysics, I suspect it would, well, no, I don't suspect. I know for a fact it would go the other way around, hence why I think that we should probably, if we do another video, I think that would be good for you to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you watched the other two videos in the playlist, but the Pfizer interviews were me basically showing off my knowledge, and then the original video was sort of like, I think Jen liked it the most, was sort of like introducing like, okay, I don't give a fuck. I need to set the record straight and like what I'm trying to do, which is open source every facet of my media. And that's also for like art of war reasons. And I will say one thing I was thinking about a lot. You should not. I'm talking aesthetically, I guess, and I'm not trying to be mean or press you. There's only one universe, right? There's no world where Gus cannot be a deathcore or whatever singer and a PhD professor in the same world. That can happen. I don't like how people have these artificial psychosocial, psychoanalytical boundaries about what they can and cannot do in life. It's absolutely bullshit that comes from fear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like believing in boundaries on a fundamental level messes people up psychologically.
Yes. It's like this boundary that never existed. It was a self-imposed gestalt, essentially. You know, like, that can be dissolved very easily. It's just a matter of, you know, puffing your chest out, so to speak.
It can't be dissolved easily. That's the whole thing. Like, historically, you have to do aesthetic propaganda to get people to value that, which and pretty much nobody wants to do it, but it's still important that some people do it.
Yeah,
most people do not want to go be a monk in some fucking monastery.
I'm gonna do that when I turn 80. I'm going to Tibet.
LOL. Yeah, I think I'm low-key gonna go back to the Roger Tisdale path after I finish the PhD and publish enough papers to feel like I've satisfied that itch.
So what does that mean, Roger Tisdale? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
He's an enlightenment guy that I've posted his diagram of. Just the meditation, the stream entry, wanting to get to fourth path, the Frank Yang style hardcore Vipassana.
Okay,
practice.
so what did he do then? He did some papers and then retired to do meditation?
I'm just saying, for me personally, I would need to have that stuff done before I can embark on wanting to pursue classical Eastern enlightenment seriously.
Or music?
No, I just don't like it that much, Joe, genuinely. Like, I actually just don't. It's not that big a part of my identity. And also personally, like, yes, what you're saying is generally true. Like, you shouldn't be able to, but for some people, everything you do is something that you create an identity around, and the more you like do things that you feel like you have to create an identity around, it can be kind of like metabolically expensive to do so. And so, for me, this is the main thing, right? I already have lifting, which is, I wouldn't call it a part of I wouldn't call it something I identify with anymore. It's just like a thing I do at this point. I don't have any identification with looking good or being jacked or something like that. It's just part of my routine at this point in my life. So for me, the theoretical neuroscience project is of the utmost number one priority in my life right now.
Sure, as long as that's not, what you're saying is not a masquerade for having your primary identity walk on a tightrope.
No, because I'll just fucking blow my brains out if that doesn't work out.
No, what I'm trying to say is like, I mean, no. I know you're joking. You also have a dark sense of humor like me. I'm saying, like, is there? You said, like, you told me, you probably don't remember because you guys have kind of short ass context windows. But
okay,
I mean,
okay. Just tell me what
you said.
Just tell me what I said.
We should make music, or you like pressed me to make music. I'm like, I'm not really that good. And then
we were driving, yes. Yes, you were very good at freestyling that shit.
And you were very good at the lower resonant vocal cord or glottals or whatever.
Gutturals and shit.
Yeah. So my question to you is, do you have this latent fear, apprehension that, if I make music that I'm going to get denied from a PhD program?
No, I don't think obviously that wouldn't happen. It's just like, I just don't feel like I enjoy it that much anymore. I was enjoying it when I felt like, it's like novelty, stuff. It's like when you have a new toy and it's like cool when you first get it, but then after a while you're just bored of it, and that's how I feel about it.
That you just have a different personality. I keep all my toys.
Yeah, no,
I have my stuffed animals. This is virgin coded, but I have my stuffed animals from when I was a baby. And I still sleep with them. Okay, that last part was a joke.
Sorry, I'm just responding to the PI. I talked to her yesterday. She wants me doing like some theory stuff, which I was very, very, very pleased with. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me right now, like, this is the one thing that if I can do this, like, I feel like I'm going to be free of all the things that, and that's what you always tell yourself, and then the goalpost keeps shifting, right? Whatever. I don't care. I'd rather have a delusion that motivates me to stay alive than to not have one.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about with Anthony. I don't think quantity or intervals is the right way to look at it. Like whether it's papers or body counts or different foods from different, or traveling to different countries. Like when is it going to be enough? I think you should just. I mean, I'll just speak for myself, but to have this open-endedness where like recently I've been thinking, oh yeah, Gus and I are going to do it. We're going to be fucking Yang and Mills of neuroscience. And then I think, oh, well, if that doesn't happen, I'll just do something else. So that's fine. It's like I keep it open-ended. And I think that gray, vague opaqueness is actually extremely utility-based or utilitarian, I guess.
Oh yeah, like having that kind of ability to change your self-model so that you're not anchored to just one particular configuration.
Yes, anatta.
Yeah.
I think that you can build up the desire for meditation by mastering a single skill. And I mean truly mastering, like far beyond what most people would ever do, like knowing it inside and out.
Mathematics.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to do in a way. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with this entire pursuit.
And that's called effortful zine in Japanese Soto-zen.
But I guess I do have a particular conception or like belief, which for better or worse, or whether that's true or not, is the kind that like I don't feel like conceptual thinking is going to get me to what I believe is classical Eastern enlightenment as the Buddhists describe.
It won't. The only thing that will is mastery of a domain, but that's only the first step. Once you get the mastery, it's also about translating it into different domains.
And here's the thing with meditation, I just can't do that and also pursue this because meditation trains in the formal sense, Jen, of meditation.
That's what I'm saying. It's pointless to do meditation until you have mastery, and so much mastery that it's actually like just a game, and it's effortless to master something new, like you've mastered 99 things or something.
Like I'll actually describe a specific failure mode that happened when trying to do like high level conceptual activity and like meditation. I actually did restart my practice earlier this year, but then I noticed like in class, like I would be listening to the professor talk, but like yes, I would be in the present moment, but I would be so present that I wouldn't be paying attention to like what he was actually saying. I would be paying attention to like the spectral qualities of his voice.
That happened to me too.
So I'm like, yeah,
that's cool.
2016.
At least in the beginning, right? Or maybe it's like a particular style. Some people are they have a tendency to like once they train a certain mode of attention, it's very sticky and it's hard to ascend again in the layers of abstraction, because like meditation, it seems like, at least in the way it's the Buddhist tradition, it's all about paying attention to raw sensate qualities, right?
Yeah.
And when you pay attention to raw sensate qualities, right, by the very zero-sum nature of attention, that means you're not paying attention to high-level conceptual constructs, right? So,
that's right.
So you can see how that failure mode would arise. Then it doesn't seem very.
I don't know what you mean by failure mode exactly.
Yeah, I
failure
mean
mode in the context of someone trying to do high level conceptual activity. Okay. So they're training a mode of attention that is biasing them to.
So you're saying they wouldn't be able to translate from meditation to abstracta?
I have not found that
he's forgetting that
but that's because you aren't coming from a perspective of mastery, because you haven't actually mastered anything yet.
What, the meditation or just anything?
The first mastery is always something conventional.
Yeah, but the issue, I guess that's what I was saying. Like, oh yeah, after I finish the PhD, after I feel like I've made a name for myself in the field, then I can give myself the permission to pursue those things again. But for practical reasons and also for that specific psychological reason, like, I don't feel like it's the best use of my time.
Right. You're also forgetting that, like, dynamically, I'm not trying to be mean because I'm the same way. We're both zero shot with respect to our meditation routines. We've only had one good rung, each of us, and obviously we would focus on lower level gestalts. But once you do that, once you give yourself permission, I would say just wait for it to have a formal routine again, not to conflate or dismiss Jen's idea of mastering something as a proxy to getting attention and meditative prowess back. But you'd be surprised. Like, I'm sure if we both sat down in Lotus, next week and tried to integrate that into what we're currently doing, you would not be paying attention to your professor's spectral voice, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you would be more.
Pitch and timbre.
Yeah.
That's what I meant when I said spectral. I just meant like paying attention to the pitch and timbre and not the actual semantic content.
Right. At this point, you're probably gonna start paying attention to these like higher order associations, like maybe what I do. I guess. I mean, I think I'm not saying I'm holier than thou or anything, but I definitely.
Guys, if you had mastery, you could do what you're describing.
But then that, I feel like also that condition also is one of those like conditions that is never going to be satisfied unless you predefine the conditions.
Mastery is when you have diminishing returns on all aspects of skill. So it's important, all aspects of skill. So you have to choose something you can actually become skilled at.
In a particular
the first mastery is always conventional. So my first mastery was because I'm a yogi. It was my body.
Wait, hold up. I have mastered something. I mean, I don't know. I guess I could master it more, but like, I feel like, for instance, like this is why I don't care about like bodybuilding anymore. I feel like, I got to a point where like I felt like my physique was really good up to my personal level of satisfaction.
That's not mastery.
Why not?
Because you aren't in optimal condition.
What define optimal condition?
You would have your bandhas align, like in that diagram.
Yeah, so then I don't know. Okay, so if you're going to use your...
That's mastery. I mean, it took me till I was about 24 to get mastery over my body, so it's no small task.
Try to translate that into a Western framework without using the...
Well, that's the whole idea. I did translate it into a Western framework with the periodic table, right? So I did. It just takes a long time.
Okay, I see.
But mastering something, once you mastered something, you can go to another domain and master it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've never mastered anything, then that fact is not evident. And the fact you don't believe in authority means you don't... That's why you don't believe in authority, is because you don't understand mastery.
Yeah, I just need to get good, bro.
By the way,
It's not getting good. Because the thing is, you don't have to master something esoteric like the body. You can master something like, for example, some technique in mathematics, like isolating a variable. Even that is mastery.
So why is body being conflated into a single category of yoga when he was talking about bodybuilding, which is like sarcoplasm and myofibrillar optimization when you're talking about bandha optimization? It seems like the body is not... like when I'm writing or running, I could run. That's also my body. Am I not using my bandhas properly? Like it seems there's multiple categories with respect to the body.
Well, if you're optimized and you have mastery over your body, then your bandhas are aligned the way they should be. And also your chakras and everything else that should be the way that it is in the right array.
All right, so I guess if you can also run 7 miles in 55 minutes, that you can talk to me about body mastery.
Yeah, so that's just one facet of it. So it's got to be all the facets. That's why what you master, you sort of have to pick something that you can realistically master. Like, for example, poker. That doesn't mean you become the best poker player in the world. It means you stop getting better at it.
It means you get good at wearing sunglasses.
You have diminishing returns on all aspects of skill.
Can I just got to tell Gus
Good
something.
conversation, guys, but I'm
But dude, but we just started.
Okay, I'll let you finish. No, I do have to go. I got someone else to talk to.
Someone more important. Okay, no, I get it. No, you're
I
good.
wouldn't say we've been talking for like 2 hours. We've
Dude,
been talking for a while, I'd say.
Dude, it's only been like an hour.
Let me know. Well, let me know if we can do this. We can do this tomorrow.
I
again,
just gotta tell you something important before you go.
Okay.
With respect to the cathedral, that was intended to be like for multiple people that I'd eventually cut off, and then we'd have like maybe 7 more people. Just so you know, you've shared some of your more pertinent ideas in the CompCog Neuro channel. Are you sure you want that channel? There's ways we can download the text corpus, but you seem to have like gone. What?
Get rid of the.
I mean, don't get rid of it. We'll find a way to salvage it first. But like before I add anyone,
nobody's gonna steal that, right?
Oh, okay. Well, you're more. I'm willing to ping Steven, but you're confident about that. Okay. All right.
You think people are gonna wait? But who do you think? Who's in the server?
So it's just us, the same people as the nest. But what I'm gonna do is make a video this week saying like for people who retain the video to drop their Discord if they want to join the cathedral.
Okay. Wait, cathedral. Whoa, shit! It is called Cyber Cathedral. Do you know what's crazy? I wasn't even thinking of the name. I actually it didn't occur to me.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. See y'all. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Hey, Jen, I'm sorry I was kind of badgering you. The only reason is because when Gus, not to gossip, but when Gus and I were hanging out, he was being pretty critical on me, saying this stuff like, oh, you always pander to Jen. You always, he didn't say dick ride, but basically he was saying like, you're always riding Jen's dick. I'm like, he doesn't seem to understand that like, I value you. I'm not glazing you. I think you're an interesting person who's obviously done a lot of work, and I want to learn from you. And God forbid I want to learn with you. It comes off like I'm some kind of fucking traitor.
He's somewhat in the mode of feeling like it's his duty to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, he reminds me of Brad, which is our bot. He's like, Brad is all about the defense of the scientific method above all else. And it's like, okay, dude, just calm the fuck. I mean, not Gus, but like with respect to Brad bot, like I like Brad bot too, but like I'm not gonna, I think you know what I'm trying to say. I take everyone with a grain of salt, and then I have a heap of salt, and then I sprinkle the salt on some food, and I eat it.
It's good to be agnostic, but still aware. So I think, he maybe just doesn't get that. He doesn't, he wants his comfort zone. And I don't like a comfort zone. I don't know. I would like to be able to discuss axioms with people, but they don't really think axiomatically. They more just memorize stuff and then repeat it without actually understanding it. So I don't know. Like, they didn't have to test the neural nets before they worked. They got them to work by doing trial and error.
Right, and they continue to get them to work by trial and error. It's only the theoreticians who, because they brute forced it, they have an idea, like you said in the sparring video, of like they're able to infer equivariance. They're able to, or they see equivariance works in some cases, or that it didn't work, and then they were able to inject equivariance, I should say. But it's always going to be just more injecting until we have something that resembles a human intelligence. And even then, it will only be a facsimile. It will not, I don't think, we can argue black magic or whatever, Stargate-like networks. I don't know. I'm not. I've kind of changed updated my priors.
You don't need to test something for it to work. Something doesn't need to make predictions to work. And the fact is, it does make predictions. It did make predictions, but once you instantiate the predictions, you get the result, and people only care about the result. So what's the point of having the predictive model?
Well, in medical tech, for example, they're trying to make it the black box interpretable, but still, it's a very fucking tall order. So
of course it is, because they can't think axiomatically. They can't say, okay, well, what makes sense? It's not just like the rotational invariance. It's some other thing, some other attribute, some other deeper invariant. But they don't want to look at that because they don't have the practice of reasoning based on, well, this is my first presupposition, and this is my second presupposition, and when I get to like my seventh presupposition, then I can actually define the thing I'm supposed to be defining, as opposed to these extremely superficial data that were being gathered before.
Right. So beyond the informedness or invariantness of rototranslation, permutation, and then this geometry awareness they're getting to, there's probably several latent features that are more deeper and fundamental than that do require some type of axiomization. You might you don't have to look into him, but there is someone who does have similar thought process named Pei Wang, who has his own AGI model. But it didn't launch. It didn't really launch yet because they're trying to now integrate black boxes into his AGI, which, I don't want to comment on. I love the guy. We collab on Instagram together. But
you have to start with the black box.
Yeah.
And then you have to axiomatize it. And they've been able to axiomatize through the the language conventions, like the sentence rules, grammar. They just mostly are just axiomatizing. They don't even really need to axiomatize grammar. It's more like tones of responses. And that's where the human level intervention is, where the human's reading the different branches of the answer and picking one between them.
Right. There's always going to be a yogi in the loop.
Well, the problem is that non-yogis can't seem to do non-trivial self-reference. They can do self-reference. They can come up with non-trivial things, but they can't combine them. And without combining them, you don't really get that unified world model.
Right. Yeah, I need to read more on JEPA, but so far, it kind of seems promising. But I realize, yes, I like models, but now this more, like the stuff we were talking about last time and what you were kind of spitting in the sparring, but then got kind of shut down. Gus said he was confused about the siblings and the DNA. When I read into that, I sent it to your High Priestess channel. And when I looked into it, it is most definitely, you could argue empirically, the carousel may argue it's bidirectional, right? Or it's all genetics determining everything, no free will bullshit. But when I actually looked into it, it seems that you have these physiological stressors in your life, whether it's pain in your body or something, and that affects something called reactive oxidative stress, which actually affects the topoisomerase, so the top 1 through 3 genes that create topoisomerase in a certain amount of quantity that will untangle the torsional and folds of the DNA supercoiling tension. So what I then able to infer from that, and excuse the empirical mess, but your mind unwinds the DNA for you if you're enlightened, or if you have multiple stages of realization. There's several, I'm sure, and then that's when you can start I would dare I say go further than you might even say and say you can change your species with enough yogic training. But I don't want to,
Because the future is remembered into the present through belief. So if I believe that in my next life I'm going to be a cow, then I can do that.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I hope you kind of see that, like, you know, there's things you say that you may not realize are in the confines of empiricism, and your intuition is spot on. But nobody's going to believe us because we sound like crackpottery. So it's
they have to accept the basis of our reasoning, which is logic that's grounded on non-dualism, which a lot of people take issue with because they believe in substance dualism. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that it makes stuff make more sense. It's just makes, like, I did the reincarnation diagram, and I thought that was really good.
You know you can put them into Super Grok Imagine and turn all your diagrams into 10-second videos, right?
I'll have to try that. No, I didn't know that, but that sounds really cool.
Just like send me a couple diagrams you really want into video format and I'll do it for you.
Thanks.
Do you have time or do you want to go?
I have to go because I'm supposed to have dinner with my dad and he's leaving tomorrow, but it was a great chat and I look forward to the next one, and thanks for putting so much effort and focus into holding this great space.
I appreciate that. I have a good time with your dad, okay?
See you later. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Compassion is a scalpel, not a hose!
Artificial general intelligence has yet to be solved.
The first assembler is created to convert organic matter. It replicates, and the manufacturing rate becomes exponential. The assemblers would strip the Earth of all organic matter.
All right, systems check complete. Power to full. Let's move out. Target acquired. Fire when ready.